Hey guys, this is Comic Gwenom, and today I'm doing Comic Gwenom's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. So let's get started. Of course, in the comments below, let me know what your pick of the week was, because at the end of the video, I do the viewer's pick of the week. Also, guys, in about 2 weeks, my Kickstarter for my comic, They Call Her the Dancer, is being released. You can follow the page right now. That way you could get a chance to jump onto those early bird specials. This is a book about a young woman who's a dancer / assassin, and when she was little, she witnessed her parents being murdered in front of her and never dealt with that trauma until now. So definitely go check that out. Now, let's jump into this week's comics. I had 10 books, but here's the catch. My store did not get the DC Comics in time, so I think they're coming like later today or tomorrow, and so I decided to get my physical comics from DC for next week, but I read them digitally this week, so that's why you're not seeing the physical Infinite Frontier and all those books. But let's get into it. Number 10 for me was King in Black, Wiccan, and Hulking, issue 1. Which I was surprised by. I love this couple. I'm a huge Young Avengers fan, but I didn't really quite love Empire. I kind of fell on and off with it. I read some tie-ins here and there, but wasn't really a big fan of the event. And then I was also like, okay, well, how is this going to tie into King in Black? Is it really necessary? And that's in the long run why it was so low. It wasn't quite a necessary tie-in. It felt like something that they wanted just to promote the trade, honestly. I feel like it was just here, like, okay, King in Black is popular. Maybe we can remind them of Empire. And that's pretty much what happened. Now, as a Wiccan and Hulking fan, I did enjoy their honeymoon aspect of the book, but it was very dialogue heavy and also very long. It was over 30 pages, I believe, so it just didn't feel like a necessary tie-in. The artwork was very cartoony, kind of felt out of place for me, so I'm giving that one 2.5 stars. That is number 10. Next up is Suicide Squad. That's number 9. And honestly, this was a good book, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all my books this week, so it's just lower because I would say that a lot of the beats were already spoiled for us. So we knew Superboy was going to be in the book. We knew Talon was going to be in the book. So those big moments as a reader would have been really cool if it was revealed here instead of in a solicit where we're kind of already anticipating it. But it does build up from what we had in Future State, this kind of anti-Justice League, and we're seeing how that start. I felt like this story was a lot more cohesive because in Future State, everything's just thrown into the middle. So it was nice to kind of slow things down here. Artwork was gorgeous for this book as well. It definitely fit well for a Suicide Squad book. I'm not a huge Suicide Squad fan, so I don't know how long I'll stick with this. The reason I'm picking it up, A, is to learn more about Peacemaker with the new movie and the new show coming out, and also I'm a huge Connor Kent fan. I like Superboy, and I like that generations of Teen Titans, so I want to try it out. Also, it's tying into Teen Titans Academy, so I'm at least going to give the first 3 issues a try because I'm reading Teen Titans Academy, so I got to at least see it through and see how that all connects. So overall, I hope we get to see some more exciting things as we go along and some more surprises, but I thought this was a pretty good setup issue. So moving on to number 8, and that was Gwenom vs. Carnage, King in Black, issue 3. This was a little hard to review, honestly. I think this is actually the best issue of the bunch, but it very abruptly ends in the end of this issue. So we get to see, okay, MJ and Gwen kind of make up by the end, and then Gwen's about to go to her other reality. It doesn't work, and she's still kind of under the thumb of Null, and that's kind of how it ends. And there's this cliffhanger with Mary Jane maybe still being controlled by Null. And it's like, King in Black doesn't have time to touch upon Gwenom, and there's no Gwenom book and no Spider-Gwen book being announced, and there's nothing teased here, so it just felt very open-ended for a future that we just don't know about. I did like some of the emotions here. I enjoyed the back and forth between Gwen and Mary Jane, and Gwen realizing why Mary Jane's doing the stuff that she's doing. I like that, even if it got a little repetitive over the course of time, but this was a very rock and roll issue. I enjoyed the battle, the bands aspect to the visuals and the action and the battles between them physically as well. So overall, I was a little torn because I enjoyed this issue, but I also was a little disappointed as an ending. So giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is Batman issue 106. And Again, not a bad issue by any means. I honestly thought this was a really, really good issue to jump back into things. You know, we had Future State for 2 months. Let's say you forgot what happened in Batman. This is a really good way to catch up and then also put the pieces together on the chessboard of what's to come. We have the first appearance of Miracle Molly. We have the new version of Scarecrow, but then also the building of the Peacemaker or Peacekeepers and the Magistrate. So there's a lot of building pieces here that I enjoyed. I loved Oracle in this issue as well. I love her being involved. So overall, I thought it was a pretty solid issue. Artwork was good, but it's a little slower, right? Because they're just getting introduced. There's nothing huge that happens in this issue, but it's still definitely worthwhile, and I can't wait to see where it goes. And I think Miracle Molly especially has felt a little different. I like that it's very technology based, and I like her look, and I love that James is introducing new characters. I think that's been a really great aspect of his run. So really good stuff here. Overall, giving it 3.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, a book I honestly randomly got just because I know there's a lot of issue 1s that came out, but I didn't get all of them, right? There's just some I just personally wasn't interested in, like Swamp Thing or Crime Syndicate. And I kind of, in Berserker, like I felt bad I wasn't getting a lot of issue 1s. So out of all the issue 1s, I saw a preview of Kate Bishop in this, and I'm like, okay, let me try it out. And that was America Chavez, Made in the USA. And this is a character I've always liked in team books. Like, I enjoyed her probably the most in West Coast Avengers, but I've never really been able to get into the character as much as I've wanted to. And there's just, for some reason, been that distance. And this one really closes the gap for me. I feel like it finally gave that personal journey that she needed. There's kind of this Superman-esque origin story of her finding a family, and then there's definitely some teases that something happened to her family. That's why she is the way she is today, and that's gonna tie into the overall mystery of the series. And then you have the good supporting cast with Kate, her girl from West Coast Avengers. So if you enjoy West Coast Avengers, it definitely ties in well. But then also kind of grounds America because they go back to New York, and she knows her grounds there and knows the people, and kind of has a great Marvel vibe to it. So overall, pleasantly surprised with this one. Really solid artwork as well, and definitely gave me enough to want to read issue 2 and see where her journey goes. So I'm giving that one 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Nocterra, issue 1, which actually right behind me, I have the Kickstarter book as well. So I wanted to show that off. I haven't read it yet because I wanted to read the official issue first, but this is the collector's edition, signed, and then there's actually like the artwork and the scripting here, if you guys could see that. So that's pretty cool. So I want to show that off, and I'll probably dig into it now that I've read that first issue. Now, going into Nocterra issue 1, I really enjoyed this. I thought this was such a good start for this book because it gets into the character work right away. So we learn about our main character, and it's actually somewhat of a flashback. She's adopted. We learn a little bit about her family, what the dynamics like, and then we get to our kind of sci-fi post-apocalyptic world where the world stopped and everything turned dark, and where were you in that moment? And there's obviously some mystery behind it, and people turning into monsters and not being good. If your gums turn black, you're in the process of turning into this monster, and her brother is in the process of that happening, but it seems like he's in a predicament that maybe he could prevent it through technology. So it's really the main character, the sister, just trying to save her brother, and we don't really know what happened to the rest of the family. We don't know what happened to the mom or the dad, but it is her and the brother. And then there's this mysterious, literally a character in the shadows, who kind of tells them, hey, I know why this happened, and we should go up against that person. So I really enjoyed this. I thought it, like I said, it was very solid, and I liked how character driven, and I feel like it was just a really good balance. We had a good cliffhanger, and you really got into the mythology well. The artwork is drop dead gorgeous, from character work to this really very different type of world, right? It's a very visual world. And even from the mask, which honestly, the costume is also a really something that draws your eyes. And you're like, okay, this looks really interesting. So it just plays by the books of a really good issue 1 and definitely gave me enough to want to read issue 2. So I'm giving that one 4 stars, and then it's number 5. Moving on to number 4. So this one is an Infinite Frontier issue 0, and there's a lot to talk about here because there's so many talking points, and just the overall summary of what I thought about it. There's so much that happens here. It really does a good job at not just being a preview book. I feel like there's books where it's just like, here's a random Superman story. Here's a random Green Lantern story. It's like a free comic book day type thing. But this, because of Joshua Williamson tying in this Wonder Woman story, which also ties in beautifully with Death Metal, this feels like a real story. It feels like a continuous journey, but also some nice teasers of what's to come for DC. A lot of great talking points, which I'm going to go through. Now, the first one I wanted to talk about was Alan Scott. I'm actually going to do a whole video about him coming out and digging a little deeper into that and why I thought that moment was really important. So check out that video later in the week, but I'm going to talk about the other talking points. So Justice League, the one that I thought was a little weaker was the Shazam, Black Adam's new name, whatever it is. I didn't like it. That was kind of weird. So the dialogue was already kind of off for me, but the artwork was really good. And I don't know. I'm not a huge Black Adam fan to begin with, but then to throw in like random names like that, it wasn't my thing. Bane, a lot of great Batman stuff here. I'm so excited for everything in the future of Batman. I actually forgot to mention the Damian Wayne backup story in Batman. But that's connecting into other Batman books. I like that everything's feeling really connected. And here we get to see some teases. And is Bane dead? What? Like, that's kind of crazy if he actually is dead. Just because he played such a big part in Tom King's run and was kind of the big bad there. And then to see him be this because of the Joker was very interesting. Next up is Wonder Woman, our whole story, and then finding out that Nubia is the new queen of Themyscira, which definitely makes sense with Wonder Woman's mother's role in Justice League. So I'm also just curious to see Wonder Woman's new path, that she was supposed to not be of Earth anymore, and she decided, nah, I'm not going to do that. So how's that going to change her path in the actual Wonder Woman book? And then I think a big one for fans that probably are not going to like this direction, but John Kent maybe being evil, having a little bit of a darker side. I feel like they do not know what to do with this character. He's turned to 10 different ages over the past year. He's now might be evil. I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to be following Superman. I'm very much debating if I should pick up the new run as Superman or not. I'm just not a huge Superman fan, and I didn't really like the Future State stuff that much from Superman, so I don't know if I'm going to pick that up. But the John Kent story didn't seem very promising, just in my personal subjective opinion on it. Objective, sorry. Moving on to Wally West, and that was interesting. So we're getting to see, again, maybe a brighter future for Wally, which is that he is now the new Flash. So there's a lot of different mythology stuff driven with Barry Allen, and he's going to be within this multiverse search that's going on. But Wally's going to be like the more grounded Flash. But I'm curious how that's going to affect the Flash series. Is Barry going to be the lead? Is Wally going to be the lead? How's that going to affect everything? Roy Harper appears here too, and I believe, if I read it correctly, Infinite Frontier, the miniseries, is going to explore Roy Harper more, and Alan Scott. Very excited to see more Roy. Maybe Justice League will see more of that as well, because we do not have a Green Arrow series right now. And last but not least is the big ending of the issue, which is Darkseid. And what was interesting here is that he just pretty much says, it's the end of DC Comics, of this universe. I don't know how to feel about that, because didn't we just already have this universe-ending event? Do we need another one? I personally don't. I think that we could go into a smaller scope of an event and more character-driven, but it's always cool to kind of see Darkseid and things matter and stuff like that. But overall, I thought it was a really solid book, and obviously, this portion of the review took me a long time because there were just so many things to hit upon and so many little stuff, and honestly, I didn't even talk about everything, just the stuff that I thought was really big. And the artwork was really good. It was just a really well-crafted book, and it felt more than a preview book, and you could really tell how much effort really the whole DC crew put into it. So I'm giving that 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Firepower, issue 9. And at first I was like, oh no, is this whole issue just going to be him falling out of the plane? First of all, the action was so good, I don't even think I would have minded. It did do exactly what I predicted. I think I predicted this on Comic Book Weekly, our podcast we do every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. But I said I think it's going to be very Legend of Korra, Avatar The Last Airbender, Firebender, where you could kind of fly with fire, because he has the fire powers. And that's exactly what happened. It was very epic the way it happened. And then in the last half of the chapter, we get to see him join the place that he used to live in, except now his family's there. And the big reveal that his ex-lover is still alive. That was such a good cliffhanger, and honestly a reminder of why Kirkman's such a good writer and such a good comic writer. And it reminded me of the big moments of Invincible, or big moments of The Walking Dead. That was just such a good cliffhanger. So really enjoyed this one, from the small facial expressions of the artwork to the big moments of action. And I love this book. It's so good. So I'm giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Now, my number 1 and 2 are really hard to decipher because I loved both books for different reasons. But my number 2 is Power Pack issue 4. I really enjoyed this. I feel like Ryan North has done such a good job of capturing each individual voice of the Power Pack, which has been difficult over the years for other writers. They sometimes feel out of character, or they don't know what to do with them because there's just so much different continuity that's dealt with them. But honestly, and especially for a character we haven't really seen in a while do anything individually, like Jack, this is so good. And I love the whole kind of YouTube take of it all, and we get to see them work as a family, work as a team to survive, even though they don't have powers. And we realize that they're also being affected by Wizard's personality. Because they've lost their powers, they've kind of gotten the anger of Wizard, except Jack for some reason. And then by the end, they recruit Wolverine, of all people, to help them be, as part of this as part of this outlaw thing that's going on. They need a mentor. So it was cool to see him, because we haven't really seen the X-Men interact with other non-X-Men characters. And that was a perfect person from their past to bring. I liked how they still hid it from their parents. It was just a really fun issue, and just really well done character issue from Jack to the other Power Pack members and their interactions, and a really good plot-driven issue as well. I've just been having a blast with this book. I wish we had more of it. It was really good. Artwork is still, I like it. I think it works for the book, but I think that's why I landed on number 2 for me, because there are times where I feel like it could be a little bit more detailed. So giving that 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, guys. I'm sure you've already guessed it. I actually got both covers, but I'm only showing you the one. Runaways, issue 34. And I actually think we have to wait 2 months for the next issue. But man, the stuff I'm seeing for the preview for the next issue, that seems a little crazy. A lot of good stuff happening. But this one is just, mom and dad, Nico and Chase, helping out Molly, where the X-Men come, or at least 2 of the X-Men come. Pixie and Wolverine says, hey, you sent us a letter, you want to go to Krakoa, let's go. And Molly's like, I do not know what you're talking about. And then they realize, oh, wrong kid, okay. And they try to find the real kid who needs to do this, and they work together to do so. And it's kind of interesting, because again, with the X-Men being so far off in their Krakoa world, they've been so disconnected to the rest of the Marvel universe, besides maybe King in Black. It was kind of cool to see them still play with Krakoa, but still interact with other people. And we still don't know who this new mutant is. I'm very curious to see what that's going to bring. But I just love the character story here. There's so much good dialogue, as always, from Rainbow Rowell. But I feel like the thing that I really enjoyed was the interactions you didn't expect. So, like, we get to see Pixie and Nico. Nico's like, girl, I don't even know who you are. Why are you pretending like you know me? And they get to learn a little bit more about each other. And that was a really good moment. And then, Chase just fighting with Wolverine side by side. There's just so many great moments here, from action to dialogue. And it's perfectly crisp book that I love to read every month when it does come out every month, sometimes every 2 months. But I just really enjoy this one. And I just thought this was a great chapter. Even though we didn't get the rest of the Runaways, it still felt like it didn't miss a beat. I didn't, even though I always miss Carolina and the rest of the crew, I didn't miss them because you're so involved with the other characters here. And artwork, as always, the facial expressions are so good, and there's small moments I enjoy, like when Wolverine's holding Molly, and Molly's like, no, I'm gonna hold you, Wolverine. So those small moments are so good in this book. So overall, I gave this 4.5 stars. I loved it. Like I said, the ending looks kind of crazy, though. It looks like Nico and Carolina might break up. It looks like Molly might be going to Krakoa after their conversation. Maybe it actually did interest her to go there. So a lot of good stuff here. Overall, giving it 4.5 stars. Like I said, that was my pick of the week. Let me know in the comments below what was your pick of the week. And of course, we get to the viewers' pick of the week here. So last week's pick for you guys was The Amazing Spider-Man issue 60. And here are some comments about that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Gwenom. Definitely follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Be sure to subscribe and like this video. It really, really helps the channel. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her Dancer. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, where we talk about all our favorite comics and comic book news. So be sure to check that out. Thanks, guys. Bye.